Today I'm spending the next 2 nights at the most famous hotel in Hollywood, the Hollywood Roosevelt. Located off of Hollywood Boulevard and right across from the famous Chinese theater, the Roosevelt is the heart of this town. The Hollywood Roosevelt is the very definition of glitz, glamour, and the golden era of movies. Walking into this hotel is like taking a step back in time. From famous guests to hosting award-winning events, parties, and having some of the most exquisite views of the town, this hotel helped shape Hollywood into what it is today. There's so much history inside of the walls of this almost 100-year-old hotel, and I'm here to document it and make sure the world never forgets about the greatest hotel in Hollywood, the Hollywood Roosevelt. The story begins in 1926, with construction breaking ground to build Hollywood's newest hotel. This hotel was financed by a group of individuals who were all very prominent in the Hollywood film industry. Douglas Fairbanks, Mary Pickford, Louis B. Mayer, and Sid Grauman, the founder of the famous Chinese theater, were all investors behind this $2.5 million project. That doesn't sound like a lot of money for a grand hotel, but that's the equivalent to $42 million today. And if you couldn't figure it out already, the hotel got its name in honor of the 26th President of the United States, Theodore Roosevelt. At last, the construction was done, and the Hollywood Roosevelt was born and opened its doors on May 15, 1927. This is a 12-story hotel with 300 rooms. The Hollywood Roosevelt has had their share of Hollywood royalty over the years. Many guests have visited, and some even lived here for a period of time. Living out of hotel rooms was a very common thing back in the day. Norma Jean, also known as Marilyn Monroe, lived at the Roosevelt for 2 years early in her career. Clark Gable and Carole Lombard would stay in the penthouse on the top floor of the Roosevelt for only $5 a night, which would be around $90 today. That's insane to think about, because the average rate of a hotel in 2024, according to Google, is $148 a night, and that's for a standard hotel. The Roosevelt is listed as a 4-star hotel, and in my opinion, it feels like a 5-star. Okay, that's enough math for now. Some other notable stars that stayed here include guests like Shirley Temple, who learned to do her famous stair tap dance routine on the hotel stairs right next to the elevators. Errol Flynn, who apparently created his famous recipe for bootleg gin in a tub located in the hotel's barbershop. The very famous Montgomery Clift stayed at the Roosevelt while filming From Here to Eternity, which was one of his most popular films. Unrelated but related at the same time, Clift was also in The Misfits, which was Marilyn Monroe and Clark Gable's last film.
Listen, if you want to go somewhere, I don't mind being alone.
Do I look like I want to leave?
The list continues with other famous guests like Charlie Chaplin, Greta Garbo, Gloria Swanson, who's in Sunset Boulevard, one of my favorite films about Hollywood, and if you haven't seen that movie yet, it's a must.
All right, Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up.
The first Academy Award ceremony was hosted here in 1929, otherwise known as the Oscars. That's right. On May 16th, 1929, the first Oscars was held at the Hollywood Roosevelt. Tickets were only $5 a person, there were a total of 270 people in attendance, and the event only lasted 15 minutes. That's definitely changed. All of those in attendance who won and received an Oscar knew 3 months ahead of time. That kind of spoils the fun. Oh, and by the way, this event wasn't broadcasted on television or radio, so you had to be there. The Academy Awards was hosted in the Blossom Ballroom, and while the Oscars aren't hosted here anymore, they still use the space for events. This room is usually closed off to the public, but I met this wonderful lady who worked here at the Roosevelt, and she let me get a closer look behind the doors. That was very nice of her, and I'm glad I was able to take a peek in there. To think that's where so many people received different awards for things like Best Actor, Actress, and Best Picture just blows my mind. By the way, the film Wings from 1927 won Best Picture that year. And to put all of this into perspective of how long ago that was, Hollywood was still producing silent pictures. This was right around the time of the transition from silent to talking films.
I wish you was a wishing well, so that I could tie a bucket to you and sink you.
Now it's time to take a look at one of the hotel rooms here at the Hollywood Roosevelt. Now this is not MTV Crib style, but I'm going to do my best to show you what the room looks like. I'm staying in room 809 on the 8th floor, and let me just tell you that the view from this room was breathtaking. This honestly might be the nicest view and hotel room I've ever stayed in, and I don't think any other room could top this view except maybe the Clark Gable penthouse or the Maryland suite. I think every hotel room here is slightly different, at least the layout of the room. This room specifically had a huge bathroom, and the room that I stayed in last year had a much smaller bathroom. This might be the biggest shower I've ever seen in my life. The room itself is decorated with some Hollywood decor, and my room specifically had a photo of Judy Garland, who is one of my favorite actresses. Now, the rooms here are pretty nice and they're quite fancy and different from what I'm usually used to. The Hollywood Roosevelt is a 4-star hotel, so it's pretty fancy. And usually I'm staying at, I would say maybe like 2-star hotels. That's right, I even dressed the part and put on my suit and, I had to look fancy. Come on, it's a 4-star hotel. This is the only way to properly dress when you're in a hotel that's almost 100 years old. But even though the rooms are fancy, it still had the charm of an old school hotel room. Now, back in the day before Airbnbs were a thing, people would actually live at hotels for extended periods of time. I'm also a big fan of city skylines, and from this angle you could actually see the city of Los Angeles, which was an awesome sight to fall asleep and wake up to. I might be wrong on this one, but I think the floors might be original in these rooms, but don't take my word for it. I spent a lot of time looking down at the Chinese theater that's been around for almost 100 years and imagining all of the movie premieres that have happened there over the last century. So many famous actors, actresses, directors, and other important people that make the movies come to life would walk the red carpet towards the famous theater, and they still do to this day. This room was definitely top-notch, and I even felt like a movie star myself, staying in such a glamorous room here at the Hollywood Roosevelt. The Hollywood Roosevelt is a 97-year-old hotel, so this place has to be haunted, right? I'm not so sure about that, but there are many rumors of alleged hauntings. Some of these rumors even claim that some of the famous guests of the Hollywood Roosevelt, like Marilyn Monroe, Montgomery Clift, and Errol Flynn, have been seen or heard. Now, I don't personally buy it, and while I do believe in ghosts, I just don't see a reasonable explanation for them haunting this hotel. One of the biggest haunting rumors revolves around the mirror on the Shirley Temple staircase. Hotel guests and employees of the Roosevelt have claimed to see Marilyn Monroe appear in this mirror. If you come up the Shirley Temple stairs over here, this is the Marilyn mirror, and this is where it is rumored that people have seen her in this mirror. However, there's other rumored hauntings, such as guests claiming to see a little girl in a blue dress named Caroline, and people seeing orbs in their photographs, cold spots in the hotel. Let's also not forget that this hotel is almost 100 years old, and mysterious phone calls to the hotel operator. Okay, that's kind of weird. I've read comments online, yeah, take that with a grain of salt, of previous employees here at the Hollywood Roosevelt sharing their experiences. Whether those are credible or not, I'm not sure, and I'm not here to deny anyone's personal experiences either. Like I said, I do believe in ghosts, and I'm actually a very strong believer, but I'm also skeptical about reading stories online, especially when people are claiming to be haunted by Hollywood's biggest movie stars. There's a few other darker stories about the Hollywood Roosevelt, but I think we'll save those for another day. My goal here isn't to bust any ghosts that may live in the Roosevelt. My job and purpose is just to document this hotel for my own fascination and its connection to the golden age of Hollywood. There's an absolute possibility that this hotel might be haunted. This is the oldest operating hotel in Hollywood, but it's also an old building, so expect some random creaks from old pipes and floorboards. This is my second time staying here, and I've never felt or seen anything weird or unusual. It does feel like an old hotel that has a lot of rich and interesting history, but so far I haven't come into any encounters with the supernatural. During the 1950s, the Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel started to decline. At that current time, one of the original owners demolished some of the original archways, covered up the elegant paintings on the ceilings, and the entire hotel was painted in seafoam green. The golden age of Hollywood is not green. I don't think seafoam green is probably a good color to represent the Hollywood Roosevelt. Anyways, Radisson Hotels bought the Roosevelt in 1985 and began a $35 million renovation. Using the original blueprints for the hotel and historical photos, they managed to restore the hotel's Spanish colonial architecture to its original glory. And after 64 years of operation, the Roosevelt was declared a historical cultural monument of Los Angeles. Between 1985 and 2015, the hotel has received multiple renovations to keep the Roosevelt alive and well. Now I am on the search for the famous Marilyn Monroe suite. I've never stayed in this room, but I do know that it's located in the Cabana area and that the room number is 229. Back into the elevator. Alright, I'm gonna go down to the ground floor. Now I'm heading over to the Tropicana pool. It is a little wet and rainy outside, but let's, I'm looking for Marilyn's room in the Tropicana pool area. Now this isn't just a standard hotel room here at the Hollywood Roosevelt. It's an 800 square foot suite overlooking the Tropicana pool. Marilyn Monroe actually lived at the Roosevelt for 2 years. This was in the very beginning of her career, and while she was here, she also shot her first magazine cover at the Tropicana pool. From what I've seen online, the room is very fancy, and they have some pictures of Marilyn inside of the room. But for right now, I will just admire it from the outside. So I just walked through these doors, and I believe this is where the Marilyn Monroe suite is. Right over here, the Marilyn Monroe suite, room 229.
Getting the truest part of yourself out, and it's very hard, you know. I mean, it's not easy, let's say. And yet it can be very simple at the same time.
I'm gonna get lost in this place. I'm guessing this takes you all the way around the cabana rooms. I didn't know if my room key would work in the cabana rooms, but I really wanted to see the Marilyn Monroe suite, so I'm glad I was able to show you guys that. I'd love to stay there, but I don't really have the money. So yeah, here is the Tropicana pool. This is where Marilyn Monroe posed for her first paid photo shoot. How incredible. She is my favorite actress. It's really cool to be standing here. And her suite was, I believe, over there. I walked in through there, so I think it was along this area. I could be wrong, but I think that was it. The name might give this one away. The spare room is an old-timey cocktail bar and lounge inside of the Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel. That's cool and all, but there's also a bowling alley inside. Hint, hint, that's why it's called the spare room. It's located on the mezzanine level of the hotel. Just click M on the elevator or take the stairs. Right behind these glass doors. This doesn't open until 8 p.m., but as you can see, there's a bowling alley inside of there, which is super cool. Cocktail lounge and some other games. Inside the spare room, you can find 2 vintage bowling lanes from the early 1900s and some classic board games like chess, shuffleboard, and dominoes through this Art Deco style lounge. The spare room isn't open every night, but luckily during the last night of my stay, it was open. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I do like cocktails, but I just wanted to see the vintage bowling alley and the games. I wanted to bowl, but there was actually a bowling tournament going on, so it was a little busy, but luckily I did get some video of the lanes. Next time I'll play around a bowling, and I'll get a cocktail too. I wonder how many famous people and celebrities actually went in there, had a martini, played a little bowling and some other games. It's just incredible to think about. Did you know there's a secret theater in the Roosevelt? Before this was used as a spot to show classic movies, this was the Cinegrill, a popular hangout spot for A-list movie stars and other celebrities. The Cinegrill opened its doors in 1936, and it was basically a nightclub. There would be live entertainment, and you can get food and drinks. This was a place to find somebody like Humphrey Bogart having a drink, and it was said that Marilyn Monroe frequented this place and occupied one of the booths in a dark corner of the establishment. The restaurant and the Cinegrill eventually closed, and now they use the space for live performances and to run classic films. I'm leaving tomorrow. I'm bummed because I literally could have seen Rebel Without a Cause on Wednesday. Wow, just missed it by 2 days. And they just had The Wizard of Oz too. Rear Window's one of my favorites. Breakfast at Tiffany's, Sunset Boulevard is a great one. Some Like a Hot, of course, Marilyn Monroe. And this is it. The book, I believe these bookcases open up kind of like in the movies, you know? We have Marilyn Monroe right over here on the wall. Audrey Hepburn, Breakfast at Tiffany's, because she's got the kitty. Can we just appreciate the architecture? I mean, look at how awesome this is. The water underneath the stairs is really cool too. Check this out. Tell me that's not awesome. Shirley Temple, not the drink but the actress, was one of Hollywood's biggest stars throughout the 1930s. The mocktail was named after her though, and so were these stairs in the Hollywood Roosevelt. This exact spot is where she practiced her staircase tap routine with fellow actor Bilbo Jangles Robinson for the movie The Little Colonel. The staircase tap dance was one of her most famous movie scenes that people still remember to this day. So even the staircases here at the Hollywood Roosevelt have a connection to movie history. I think it's safe to say that there isn't a better hotel in Hollywood than the Hollywood Roosevelt. It's the very definition of old Hollywood, with its historical charm, glitz, and glamour. The walls here hold so many memories and many stories about the stars of the past. To stay in a room here at the Roosevelt is to stay in the heart of Hollywood.